somebody I've got a lot of time for. Former mainstream media person, in actual fact. She was the editor of the Sunday Star Times. She then jumped ship. She must have seen it coming. And became the chief executive of the Consumers Institute. And now is a well-respected commentator on, well, actually both matters, all politics, just about everything. Sue Chetwin, and she joins us now. Sue, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on again. Lovely to catch up again.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too.
I've got that right, didn't I? You went from the Sunday Star Times to Consumer Institute.
Well, I did actually help set up the Herald on Sunday and ran that.
Oh, did you do that?
I went to, that's right, yeah.
Are you responsible for that?
Afraid so. In fact, all of the Sundays.
So you were editor of the Sunday Star. Can I ask why you then went to the Consumers Council? Had you had enough of the media, Sue?
Yeah, I suppose that in a nutshell, and time to think about doing something different. And I thought that the Consumer Institute, which we changed to Consumer New Zealand, was in a way parallel to journalism, but in a way we could advocate for things in a way that journalists couldn't, and also we could see things through. So we didn't sort of, jump on one story and once once that was over, jump onto the next one. We would actually stick with it. We'd go to the select committee, we'd make submissions, and we'd act on behalf of consumers and make change. And I really liked doing that.
No, good on you. Now listen, I think you're one of the few organisations and I think you're also funded privately, aren't you? I mean, you're funded by the people who join you, people like me.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, amazing. And make a plea for Consumer New Zealand. I'm not there anymore, but they certainly need members, and because they can't do the work they do without people supporting them. And essentially, they do amazing work with members' funds.
No, and I'm a member. I signed up exactly for the reasons you've just suggested. Listen, the Commerce Commission. Can you just explain to me? You would have heard my introductory remarks. Weren't they set up to ensure competition in New Zealand and a fair deal for consumers?
I'm not sure whether they're set up to ensure competition, because in a market, capital markets work and there's competition. But where they step in is where markets fail. And the markets that you've mentioned, and one that I'm particularly interested in, of course, is supermarkets, which are a spectacular failure in New Zealand at the moment. And their own market report has shown that, we don't have fair competition. New Zealanders pay some of the highest prices in the world for groceries, and that lack of competition, it looks like it's going to intensify. And so what we're concerned about, and I guess what you're alluding to, is what is the Commerce Commission doing about it? And that is the question that we are asking as well.
Now, this has all taken on a slightly dramatic turn because Foodstuffs North Island and Foodstuffs South Island, which currently operate as separate cooperatives, I understand, they are now seeking to merge and become a single national grocery entity. In your view, Sue, what would that lead to?
Well, I think that leads inevitably to an even more intense market. So we would have foodstuffs with about 60% of the market, and Woolworths with about 40, or slightly less than that. And this is like in Australia, they've had inquiries into supermarket competition, and the biggest, they've got 65% there, so divided up between two big supermarket chains. So our supermarkets are so dense here, there is no competition. It's a duopoly structure. And so with the North and South Island merging, Foodstuffs says, well, it's only just be business as usual. They don't compete at the moment. But you ask a supplier, and no suppliers feel confident in speaking out because they'll lose their access to the supermarkets. But particularly in the South Island, they say that, they may not want to supply the North Island, but if everything is centralised, they will just lose their market. And and you can look at competition in a way of future competition. So if North and South Island merge, there's virtually no chance then for a new competitor to come in. So it just becomes more and more difficult. And the Commerce Commission has to look at it through the eyes of a significant lessening of competition. To us, it's obvious there will be a significant lessening of competition, and it will be bad for consumers.
Okay, and from a sort of a consumer perspective, does that mean that the suppliers will get stiffed first? In other words, they'll get beaten down. You've just talked about the fear that suppliers of supermarkets have in speaking out. Or does it mean that consumers will face higher prices, or both?
Oh, both. I think both. We are already paying very high prices. And also in some areas, there's not even a duopoly, there is a monopoly. You'll find Pack and Saves and New Worlds, which are owned by Foodstuffs in one area, and you'll find a Countdown in another, Woolworths in another area. So it's very bad news for consumers, and it's not great news for suppliers. And you sort of think, New Zealand is a nation of food producers, but here we have this really very bizarre position. And also it stops innovation, because if suppliers aren't being encouraged, and they're the people who do the innovating, and it's often the supermarkets that sort of take that innovation and create their own brands, which in Foodstuffs' case is Pam's. Yeah. And Foodstuffs prides itself that Pam's is the most popular brand in its supermarket. So, what does that say for independent suppliers?
So in that particular case, I've looked at that, and also there's the budget brands and things like that. What you're saying is they take the IT, if you like, of a particular product, and then do they go to the same... Explain this to me. So if I get Pam's, let's just say, baked beans, is it Watties that still make the baked beans, but they're making it for Pam's?
They could be. Yeah, they could be. Or in most situations, a supplier will be making the home brand as well as their own stuff.
Right, and they have to if they want to continue to be able to supply their original brand to that supermarket. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else, will they?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's tough news for suppliers as well. Look, the Commerce Commission has put in place, new structures for suppliers and, fair deal, fairness policies. But nevertheless, it's still pretty tough for suppliers, and they are, they don't speak out about these things because they know if they do, they
lose the contract.
Supermarkets anymore.
That's appalling to operate under that level of fear.